we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order because everybody got quiet, and it is that time. First, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilor Patton, would you help lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have the consent agenda, and we had one item pulled for discussion, which was B4E. Do we have a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, all in favor of the motion, aye. All opposed, nay. All right, and that passes. And do we want to talk about B4E?
Just had a question on this contract services. It is authorizing a 3-year contract not to exceed $7.5 million with an opportunity to extend. In the backup, it says that the convention center recaptures this money. So I'm just trying to understand if this is a wash, is there actual expenditure, or we get, it is net after the clients or whoever's using the convention center get billed. So I'm just trying to understand, authorize, execute a contract for a certain amount, only to be reimbursed. So if you could just clarify that.
Absolutely. Carrie Painter, Raleigh Convention and Performing Arts Complex. This is for 5 years, and it is in 3 different venues. So I know as a bulk, it seems like a lot, but it's 3 different venues. And what basically happens is the customer goes into conversation about planning. We determine what do they need, how much do they need, where do guards need to be. Then we create this quote and plan and security plan for them. They have to use our approved security company, and then the amount shows up later on their settlement along with rent and tables and food and all the other things afterwards. So each customer gets billed according to usage, and if somebody doesn't book, then we wouldn't use all the money, but we can't always predict how many events there are either, and so it has increased over time.
So do you recapture 100% of the expenses, or the city bears some type of shared cost? Because in here, in the back of it, was saying that the clients are billed for the services they used, but it's unclear to me, are we made whole, or there's still an expense from the city for this 7.5 or ultimately 15 million?
Right. No, we're made whole. We capture it all, unless something happened to go wrong and we asked for extra, and we might pay for that because we felt more comfortable with an extra person or something. But almost always we're made whole. It is separate from the building's security, which is our cost to bear. So that is a whole separate set of security people in a different company, and that's
Not part
ours.
of this contract.
So this contract is all clients, and we bill it, and we're made whole.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or?
Hearing
Okay.
that, I make a motion to approve the contract services for Convention Center, Performing Arts Center event, and security services.
All right, all in favor of the motion, aye. All opposed, nay. All right, so that passes. Thank you. All right, next we have the Planning Commission report, and we have Bynum Walter and is Nicole Bennett here?
Good afternoon, Bynum Walter, Raleigh Planning and Development. I'm joined today by Vice Chair Roberta Fox.
Okay.
Ms. Bennett Chair Bennett sends her regrets. She's not well. A reminder of some upcoming September and October holidays for your reference. We do have some public hearings scheduled, some annexation items scheduled for your next meeting. Nothing related to rezoning or annexation scheduled in October at this time. We are recommending, published the 4 items for October the 7th. I have some updates on that. We'll get right to that. So Z1324, this is just under 8 acres on South New Hope Road, going from a residential district to neighborhood mixed use, consistent with the comprehensive plan, but inconsistent with future land use map. Planning Commission recommends approval and a suggested public hearing date here of October 2nd. Z5124, this is Fairbanks Drive, just under 3 acres, going from R10 with conditions and a portion of NX3 with conditions to entirely NX3 with conditions. This is consistent with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends approval. Again, that October 7 public hearing date is the suggestion. Z1025, this is under 3 acres on Leesville Road, consistent with the plan and the future land use map. Planning Commission did recommend approval, but suggested allowing the applicant time to revise conditions to limit the residential density, and as well as the some restrictions on the form of the townhouse building type. The applicant indeed would like to defer your setting the public hearing until your next meeting. They'll come back to you at your next meeting to set the hearing, and I believe is looking still for an October 7 public hearing date, but would like to make some changes before you set the hearing. And then finally, Z1225, this is Peace and West Street. Again, under 3 acres, going from IX12 to downtown mixed use, or industrial mixed use 12, going to downtown mixed use 30 stories with an urban general frontage and some conditions. Again, consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. Planning Commission does recommend approval unanimously. I understand from the applicant, they would ask that you defer this to your next meeting to allow them to, again, revise the request, and then would appreciate an October 7 public hearing date after they've had a chance to make revisions and are back in front of you on the 16th. Any questions that I or Chair Fox could answer for you before you make your actions?
Counselor Jones.
Thank you so much. My question is in reference to Z5124, that's Fairbanks. As I was looking through the material, there were some transportation concerns. Lack of suitable pedestrian infrastructure was noted in the area, and I was just wondering if you guys, Ms. Fox, if you guys spoke specifically about that, or if not, if that's something that we can make sure to bring back, but when it comes to council. I just wanted to highlight transportation in that case.
Thank you and good afternoon. The only thing I'll add to that, we did have a conversation of what would be required during site plan review, at which time along the frontage of a property, pedestrian infrastructure would be added.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
On that traffic concern for Z1324, I think traffic was brought up again on South New Hope. And I know I've had previous conversations with staff about South New Hope. If we can just have some backup information of what the plans are and also what this applicant would have to do on their frontage, that would be helpful as we lead up to this.
You can bring that to public hearing, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Counselor Patton.
Two quick ones for me. I think they're in here, but I haven't had a chance to read this thoroughly. On this one, there's a condition that says something like hookah bars and vape shops are prohibited, but this does not stipulate other retail uses selling such products. Can you speak to like the enforceability of that? And then also like, is there some magic definition between a vape shop versus a retail shop that also sells vapes?
Yes. So this condition was offered by the applicant, I believe, in response to some neighbor concerns. They did revise in response to some comments from the city attorney's office. I don't know if city attorney's office cares to comment further, but felt like what the applicant was offering, because the condition does not entirely prohibit the sale of tobacco, that it can be achieved under some uses, that was within our purview. There are significant limits on how we might regulate the sale of tobacco. And then your question about, is there a definition of a vape shop or a hookah bar? No, there is not. I would say, like so many aspects of enforcement in Raleigh, it would be complaint-based, and I think a determination would have to be made at that time as to whether or not, is this a shop that also happens to sell vapes, or is this a vape shop?
Vape shop, okay.
Yeah.
So that would be like an administrative decision if a complaint came in. Okay, got it. And then Peace and West, it looks, again, I see that there's an answer here, but I haven't had a chance to read it thoroughly. But I know there's a condition on the Peace and West case that says something about like heights as it relates to whatever is designated as the primary street. But so we don't know which will be the primary street?
right? So right now there are, more than a half dozen parcels there. If they were developed individually as parcels, the street determination would be one scenario for each of those parcels. If they are recombined, the street determination would be a different answer based on the administrative objective criteria. And so we don't really know. That's not something that we can say with great confidence now in advance of lot disposition, subdivision, right? And so the 20 feet that they are adding in the event that, so it's, if West Street is the primary street, then it's 240 or 26, it's 240 if West is not, 260 if it is. What they are navigating is that the site, the high point of the site is up here at the north end, and it's about 30 feet higher than the low end down here. And the way that building height is measured is from the grade of the primary street. And so they don't know either. It sounds like they don't know what their actual lot disposition will be, and so they're trying to cultivate some flexibility there for design.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and on Z1225, I want to follow the applicant's wish that we do not set the public hearing yet and defer that setting till our next meeting, with anticipating it to be on October 7th.
Yep. Okay.
I'll say the same thing for Liliesville Road. They wanted
Yep.
to defer that and then, but still have it for
Yep.
October 7th.
Great. Okay. So do we have motions on the remainder? Do you want to?
Yeah, so I move to set the public hearing for items C2A and C2B for October 7th.
C1A.
C1A.
And C1B.
B,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. So we've got those two, and appreciate it.
Thank you very
And
much.
Thank you for serving. We haven't had you here today, but I know it's a lot of time, so appreciate it. Okay. We'll turn it over to the city manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Just two items today. One is the resolution of support for NCDOT naming of Lewisburg Road Bridge, and we have Michael Moore from the city manager's office here to present this item.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Michael Moore. I'm one of the assistant city managers. And here, this might seem a little familiar, having done this a little bit in the recent past, but I'm here today to share a resolution in support of naming the Lewisburg Road US 401 North Bridge for Dr. William Hedrick. Dr. Hedrick, as soon as I get that to work, Dr. Hedrick is a Raleigh native. He has operated a solo medical practice in the community for over 60 years until he retired in 2023. We're doing this today in that the Wake County has also passed a resolution of support for this, but in doing so found that part of the bridge actually lies in Raleigh and the other part lies in Wake County. And under NCDOT rules, it requires us to also pass a resolution of support. Dr. Hedrick crossed this bridge upwards of 40,000 times over his career doing work here in the city and providing medical care to our citizens. I'm happy to say Dr. Hedrick, his wife Mary, and his daughter Sally, who drove in from Manio this morning, are here with us this afternoon. Here are just a few of Dr. Hedrick's accomplishments. There are many, many more that are listed in the backup materials that you've got there. This is not the first time the city of Raleigh has honored Dr. Hedrick. We recognized him in July of 2012 as Dr. William Hedrick Day, and we've also honored him and his wife for their support in helping develop Horseshoe Farm Nature Preserve. Dr. Hedrick and his wife Mary, this is the Dr. Bill Hedrick and Mary Hedrick homestead at Horseshoe Farm Nature Preserve. They donated 23 acres and did a reduced sale of the property for us to develop this park. Just a little backup on what the NCDOT process looks like. Again, we've done this before, so it's one where we're just we'll resubmit this back to the state transportation board. And with that, I'd like to ask your consideration for this resolution.
All right, thank you. Any comments, or do we have a motion?
Yeah, I am grateful to the Hedrick family for their contribution to our park system. I begin all my Greenway journeys at Horseshoe Farm Nature Preserve, so I'm personally grateful. And then also thank you, Dr. Hedrick, for your service to our community through your practice. So with that, I motion to adopt the resolution and direct staff to transmit the resolution and supporting materials to NCDOT for their consideration.
All right, all in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay, and the motion passes. And again, we appreciate Mr. Moore and the Hedrick family for all of your contributions.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And if you would stand up, Dr. Hedrick, not to put you on the spot, but you've done some amazing work. Awesome. Thank you so much. And the next item, long-awaited Fayetteville Street Skate Plan update. We have Ken Bowers from Planning and Development here to present this item. And as many of you all know, we have worked tirelessly over the last several years to make sure that downtown is an inviting and safe environment for everyone. And so Ken is bringing the next step in that process, the Streetscape update forward.
Thanks. So before I get started, just wanted to recognize that the project manager from our office, Dylan Bruckhouse, and working with Danya Sandeep, have been managing this project on behalf of the city. And then Dave Tons from McAdams, who's the lead consultant on this, is also present and available to answer questions if needed. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the project, why we're doing it, what kind of engagement there's been, to hear from the public and stakeholders downtown about the future of Fayetteville Street. And then I'm going to present to you the proposed design changes and a phased implementation strategy for your response and feedback. So Fayetteville Street was a major capital project. It's now almost 20 years old. Opened in the summer of 2006. I had just gotten here, and they were still laying pavers. And I remember we had the celebration planned, Raleigh wide open, for a few days. And I was looking out my office window. It's like, it's not going to be done. It's not going to be done. But they finished it in time. And it was open, and it was beautiful when it started. But it's now almost 20 years old. There's been a lot of evolution on the street. And there was never an actual formal streetscape plan adopted for it. So anytime someone has asked to make a change to the streetscape, whether that's to alter a piece of street furniture or do anything else, there's been no policy guidance against which to review it. So we are filling that gap with this streetscape plan. We're also proposing some improvements to the street to help it function better in light of where downtown is today. And so that's looking at the subsurface utilities and a capital improvement plan for it. And then the consultants have also developed a longer-term concept design for improving and activating City Plaza that builds on some of the work that we've done recently to improve the furnishings and introduce shade structures into the plaza. There are four major things. One is embracing flexibility. So the uses at the ground level that front on the street are constantly turning over. And new use patterns are emerging. We want a streetscape that has fewer fixed objects in the way and more opportunity for flexible deployment of activation, placemaking, and outdoor commerce. And a lot of that is refreshing the aesthetics of the streetscape. We want to have a very vibrant public realm. This is not just Raleigh's Main Street, but arguably North Carolina's Main Street as North Carolina's capital. We want it to project during the day and night a vibrant public realm full of people enjoying themselves and going about their business. And then it should celebrate Raleigh because it is Raleigh's most prominent street. So what sort of engagement we've done? We've done a large number of stakeholder meetings. The ground floor business owners, particularly in the food and beverage space, are a key stakeholder here. We've also looked at all the event organizers because Fayetteville Street and City Plaza in particular are often closed for events. We need to make sure whether it's parades, music festivals, bluegrass, that the redesigned Fayetteville Street works for all of those users. Then we did general audience engagement for interested citizens to come out and give us our opinions. We had an open house event at the City Museum. We did Ask a Planner events. We did folks just stationed out on the street where passersby could stop by and talk to staff. We did an online survey. We deployed our social media, and then also did door-to-door canvassing of the ground floor businesses. We heard a lot of stuff. Outlined in bold is probably the #1 ask of the downtown merchant community and food and beverage, which was for the outdoor dining, which is currently located away from the building face across the pedestrian way, to actually be relocated to the building face for easier serving. We had requests for public art. The view shed between the two neoclassical buildings that frame the termini of Fayetteville Street is obviously critical. It's our signature downtown urban design move, is to have all these tall buildings stacked along that view shed with those columns of the historic State House and the Performing Arts Center down at the southern end. The street trees have done wonderfully. We've put a lot of great infrastructure in place at the time Fayetteville Street was installed, and as a result, the trees have thrived, and the tree canopy is one of our greatest assets. Not a single tree is to be touched with any of these recommendations. We want to put in place the infrastructure for special events, and there is talk about, potential, could we bring back some sort of water feature to City Plaza. So this shows the current allocation of space along the Fayetteville Street streetscape. Starting from the curb and working inward, you've got a 5-foot buffer that allows people to step out of their cars. That is unusually wide for such a buffer. Usually 2 to 3 feet is sufficient for an open car door and for pedestrians to alight on the sidewalk. Then there's this 12-foot furniture zone. A lot of it is filled with these fixed planters, the pots, the planting beds, the benches, the seat walls, and the tree pits, of course. There's an 8.5-foot pedestrian path, and then along the business frontage is about 4 feet of business spill out, just enough for a 2-top table. So how are we proposing to reallocate this? What we're proposing to do is to create an 8-foot business spill out zone. Now there'll be room for 4 top tables directly outside the businesses. The 8-foot walking path would then be relocated a little bit outboard, and it would cut into what's currently the furniture zone. The furniture zone would be about as large as it is today, but it would be programmed differently. It would be more flexible, have fewer fixed objects in it, more opportunity for temporary installations and activations. And then we would have a 2.5-foot buffer for the step-out zone. This shows the same thing in plan view, and this shows sort of the long-term vision for how the streetscape will evolve. And I know at this scale it may be a little bit hard to see, but you've got the expanded business zone here. The furniture zone becomes an activation zone, and the tree pits get enlarged to create replacement planting beds so that there's more room for more green within this. And in between each of the tree pits become individual areas that can be activated in different ways. This is a shot looking at the south on the 200 block of Fayetteville Street, showing the existing condition. And I think this highlights a couple of things, one of which is outdoor dining currently accommodated in the furniture zone has to compete with these large permanent installations of planter beds and pots, leaving little space left over. And then there's these benches, which are not really being used much or activating the street, also within that same zone. Depending on where you are, sometimes there's more space, sometimes there's less within that zone for outdoor dining. This would provide a consistent outdoor dining, this is the proposed condition, consistent outdoor dining along the building frontage, an expanded serving area. The sidewalk then becomes a clear, 8-foot clear path to accommodate pedestrian flows, and then a variety of different activations could be done in between the tree pits. And this is just a partial list of that. You could have fixed seating options, movable seating. You could have even more outdoor dining. You could have retail kiosks or displays, temporary workspaces, interactive art, lawn areas, all sorts of things could go within that. And it would be a very flexible approach to how the street could be programmed and evolved over time. And then lastly, showing City Plaza, this is expanding on some of the work. Again, part of the view here is to remove some of the permanent features and planting beds to create more flexibility, replacing that with more shade installations, the opportunity for trees and pots to create some shade in that manner. And then maybe long-term, we'll look at whether it's feasible to add some sort of flush water feature that could be on during the warm weather months and off for special events and in the cold weather months. So I promised an implementation strategy. The phased implementation strategy, phase 1 is subtract and reallocate. So it's to do the minimal amount necessary to implement that reallocation of space that I showed in the earlier slide. So you establish a new outdoor dining zone against the building face and a new walking zone. Currently, there are things in the walking zone, primarily these benches and some seat walls that are orthogonal to the direction of travel. Those would have to be removed as part of that. There are no electrical service or water service within those structures, so removing them should be relatively low cost, although we don't have a final cost estimate yet. And then any gaps will be filled in with pavers to make sure there was a continuous sidewalk experience, but we wouldn't be changing the materiality of the street with this short-term thing. The other aspect of this is to do something with the news racks. So as part of the study, we've determined that complete removal of the news racks is not viable at this time, and there are some utilities that are contained within these cabinets, but the larger shelter that creates a larger obstruction in the streetscape would be removed. These have not held up very well. There's been they tend to attract graffiti. During parades, people sit on them, which they really weren't designed for. So by removing them, we can reclaim a little bit of space, but still keep those essential elements of the consolidated news racks and utility cabinets in place. Phase 2 would obviously be a much larger investment, and this would involve changing the paving pattern to reflect the reallocation of space. It would include looking at the intersections to create special paving treatments to highlight where every cross street intersects with Fayetteville Street. It would be removal of the existing fixed installations for planting beds and pots that do include electrical service and water, and making sure that those utility hookups are available through other means. And it would also enlarge the tree pits, pushing them outwards towards the curb to create replacement planting beds that utilize the existing tree pits and define those individual activation areas. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Well, let me start with Councilor Branch, and then we'll go to Councilor Silver.
So definitely, thank you for the presentation. I'm going to start off with the one thing that I hope we don't do again, and that's the water feature.
Right.
And only because I lived through the issues of challenges with the water feature. It's great the first 2 years, but when we start getting to year 10, year 15, we start looking at maintenance and a lot of other concerns. We start looking at the fact that the plaza is on top of a parking deck and water leaking down to the parking deck. Those are concerns that I don't feel future councils should have to deal with. So that's my 3 cents on that water feature. Couple questions. As far as you mentioned the planting and the bedding, is that removing? Because I walk Fayetteville Street in some of the areas where we used to have plants, we no longer do. Are we talking about removing those?
Yeah. So on this thing, these things here.
Okay.
Would, under the long-term street, not in the short-term implementation, but long-term, we would consider removing these to create a more flexible area between the tree pits.
Okay. On the two, I call them corridors, near going to the Go Raleigh Transit Center, what's the plan there of, because you mentioned Fayetteville Street, but Fayetteville Street has a connection to Go Raleigh Transit Center.
Right.
And there's a lot of, I walked the other day where I guess it had rained the day before and it was muddy and
So you're
like
talking
what can we
about
do to
exchange
activate
and market
those?
plazas?
Correct.
Yeah, they were not included in the study. Can certainly agree that they would both benefit from activation, but they're not part of the recommendations of this study.
Okay, is there a plan for them to be included in a future study, or do you need that direction?
We haven't programmed that yet, no.
Okay,
So we would need direction to do that.
okay. So I'll take that as a note for council.
Well, can I just follow up on that? Because when I'm the liaison for the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, and we did talk about those two alleys.
Right.
So I thought they were part of the study because we discussed it. And we had some ideas and recommendations coming out of DRA. So maybe we can just revisit that.
Possibly.
Am I confused?
I honestly cannot
Okay.
say. All I can say is that as currently scoped, they're not included in the plaza or in this particular study, possibly because they were both refreshed within the last 10 years.
It's probably a wise answer not to say, yes, Mayor, you're very confused.
No, I mean, I'm
You
saying,
could say that.
but no, I was not part of that particular conversation, so I have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. And the
I
only
do remember
thing-
there were some recommendations in the downtown DRA's economic strategy for activation of those two plazas, though.
Okay. And my last question was around the plaza. I know we've replaced some pavers and things.
Right.
Have we thought about maybe some type of artwork or something to kind of rotate it? Because that shot is used by all of our news agencies. So some way to activate it so it doesn't look mismatch.
Yes,
I
there
haven't
is.
always.
There is
paved it.
consideration for reintroducing public art in more places, both within the plaza and along Fayetteville Street. It was mentioned on an earlier slide where the utility boxes have to remain, that they are a potential place for public art. And it's interesting to recall that when City Plaza first opened, there were 2 rotating public art spots.
Right.
Actually, I think it was 4, a total of 4, which are still there and could be reactivated at some point.
Okay. I'll stop for now.
All right, let me get Counselor Silver, then Lambert Melton, and then Harrison.
Ken, good to see you. First, is there a budget associated with this, or at this point, it is just concepts that are being explored?
There will be a budget. We are working on that. I think we're going to look to refine a budget for this short-term first implementation phase, and should the council express support for the general concept, this would be something that would appear in a future capital budgeting request. I think our sense of this is that the major move here from an economic perspective is changing where the outdoor dining is located. And if that starts to show a lot of benefit, that potentially creates the appetite for a larger and more expensive refresh of the streetscape. One of the issues you have with the current streetscape is we've chosen materials that are no longer available, and we have a stockpile of pavers, but eventually it will run out. And at some point, I think a refresh of the actual material conditions of how the straight walk is paved will need a refresh, and alongside of that, doing some of these larger moves would help with that. I think the other thing is a decision for a future council to make once we've done the short-term improvements. Is this something that you want to do all in one go? Is it something that would be a phased approach? We'll do one block and then we'll do others and bite it off in discrete chunks. Our sense is probably that the longer-term improvements will have a significant price tag attached to them, and so some due consideration about how to fund that is warranted.
Second question, I did go to the open house, and I got a larger presentation about other opportunities. I definitely agree that over time, the pavers, we arrived almost the same time, and I'm like, what are we doing with the pavers? If I recall, this was designed by committee. If I remember, 30 to 35 people helped design this street, which is not something I would encourage or advocate. I do like the idea about having the zones and pushing. You can't move the trees, so you're stuck with a fixed object. I mean, you can, but I would not advocate for it. But my question is that if you go back a couple of slides when you saw the after, and this is something that I certainly want both the city and DRA, that one.
Yeah.
This is a change to more contemporary streetscape with the flexibility. However, if you look at those street walls, those are not restaurants or eating or drinking establishments. They're either a dentist office or a gallery. My hope is as we work, because the streetscape as designed will work so long as the storefronts or the ground floor is activated with restaurants or retail. So I just want to make sure as we have this conversation, we need to reach out to our partners. We can't mandate it. These are private-to-private transactions. But for this to work and for people to be excited, we have got to work on the ground floor activation, which supports outdoor dining. Otherwise, we'll have another nice streetscape with not people. And I think the ultimate goal is how do we activate this street? So, and then City Plaza, I'm hoping we'll have a further conversation. We're seeing this for the first time. Want to make sure we have, I don't know what the venue that is, maybe my colleague will have a recommendation, but certainly this is something that is needed, including the pavement. I don't know how long, what the budget will be for the midterm, but certainly that's something that's going to help a great deal on establishing, and we're doing it all over the city, whether it's Block 83 and others. You can accomplish the same thing with concrete versus being in a position where some of the pavers start to sink, they need to be maintained. So I do support that long term. I like what I see, but I'd like to have some more conversation about City Plaza and paving the intersections.
Great.
Member Melton.
It's like right on cue, Councilmember Silver. So I was going to actually suggest that we take this item into the Economic Development Innovation Committee. We don't have any items pending now, so we can take it up quickly. I think that'll allow us to sort of thread together this conversation about Market and Exchange Plaza and how it works with this design. I'm also interested in, I guess, expediting these phase one projects, particularly cleaning up the streetscape and these sort of high impact, low cost options. And I think we could do that in committee and produce some maybe actionable recommendations with budget items attached to them. And then also, I do think that the City Plaza does warrant a greater discussion, which we could have in committee about what is ultimately going to be done there, whether it's a water feature or something else. So I would like to take it into EDI if, I guess that's my motion.
Yeah, second.
All right. Councilor Harrison.
Yeah, I'll just continue on that. I think it'd be great to have a discussion in committee. A couple items that just hit me initially. I love, the dining opportunity here, being close to the buildings. I'm curious, what does it look like when we don't have a restaurant? So even if there is ground floor retail, are we going to have benches? Are we going to have other opportunities so it's not just dead space? Also curious if we have to move the benches that are currently there, do those get reused quickly? Do we lose a lot of seating space initially? How do we ensure that we're not losing that? I'm also curious about the furniture, if it's movable, and there are a lot of different, configurations. Who is managing that? How do we ensure it's taken care of and can endure? I second Councilmember Branch about those plazas. I think they're really important, especially the one to the bus station. There's a large structure there that I don't know what it's for. Maybe it had a great purpose in the past, but I couldn't say today what it's for. So there's definitely some opportunities to reconfigure. I had heard mention, I think, of public art on sidewalks or on the road. That's wonderful. I'm curious if that is going to be an issue ongoing legally. I know there have been some challenges to sidewalk art in the state of Florida, and it could come on the federal level. I hope not, because I think it's a great thing. The water feature, is there a way to keep it simple? That was something we can manage? I'm thinking of something that's like a spray that comes out, but not something huge. Water would be great if we can figure it out. And then I'll just finish, low-hanging fruit. Anything that we can get done quickly and move this along, the better. So thank you for the presentation, Ken.
Councilor Patton.
Yeah, I can. I feel like from the time we saw the DRA Economic Development Plan, now I feel like several times we've seen a presentation with these very similar pictures, and I feel like we've kind of endorsed, yes, take out the news kiosks, yes, take out the benches and relocate them. It almost feels like stuck in a loop, and as I was preparing for this meeting, it seems like even as we provide feedback today, there's still more regulatory work to do to actually accomplish some of these things. And so I wonder, I guess I'm just kind of echoing, let's do the thing that's needed to move the benches, and maybe we can paint things and while we await for repaving, or maybe we can allow private use of public space, and that we allow proprietors to paint their spillover section, and we can do that without having to find budget allocation or something like that. Let's do the thing.
You have additional?
No, I was just going to go ahead and renew the motion for committee. I agree. I think it's time to, I think there's going to be more work long-term, but for short-term, I think we have sort of consensus on what we want to do, and so I'm ready to just act. So if we take it into committee, I think we can move out some action items and also tie in some of the mayor's questions about these other corridors, and so that would be my motion, is to send this to EDI.
Yeah. I'm happy to second. I was going to just comment. So just to give the council feedback on the downtown Raleigh group, I thought this is well done, Mr. Bowers. I like the simplicity of your explanations and the diagrams. The general consensus from downtown Raleigh was they did not want to go blow out some massive budget. They felt that vertical elements were more important than horizontal. So I would say for me, I am not fully bought into the paver situation. I think we all agree, let's get rid of the first wave of stuff. But in terms of pavers, because there's been conversations on painting or color, like how might that fit in versus some really expensive, repaving to delineate these different zones. And then we did talk about, so I think the functionality in a low-cost kind of way. And then we did talk about really preserving the avenue to Wilmington Street from Fayetteville Street as it connects to the bus station, and using similar sort of art, color, removing some of these structures that are not functional. So there was a good amount of conversation there that I think, again, doesn't have to blow out, a budget. And then finally, we had talked about a stage or semi-permanent, something down on the plaza as opposed to the water feature. They were more inclined to go with the sort of performing and activation. So I think that there's a lot of alignment, both with what I'm hearing here and on the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, and appreciate all the work going into this. So I'm happy to call the vote for it to go to committee with the idea of expediting this do the thing, phase one. All right, so all in favor of sending, of the motion, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, so do the thing.
And then I see Mr. King out there. Well, could you make sure to be at our committee meeting so we can capture all the DRA feedback and do the thing?
Thank you.
Well, we've done the thing, and that concludes my report today.
All right. Thank you. So we have only one item scheduled for public hearing, and I know it had been double scheduled for both the afternoon and the evening. So it's my understanding, Ms. Reckel's coming down, that we are going to open the hearing now and then leave it open for this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Did you want to talk through it at all, or are we just going to open it with no commentary?
Given that no one is here to speak,
Okay.
I believe we can have the whole
All right.
conversation this evening. Yeah.
So I'm going to open the hearing for Z5224 Tryon Road and leave it open. And we'll talk about it tonight. Okay, so that is that. Next, we have reports of committees. There was nothing in the first two. So
I'll go ahead and announce the meeting for this month now that we have an item. So Economic Development Innovation will meet on Tuesday, September 23rd at 1:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers, and we'll take up the only item we have, which we just saw.
Okay. Growth and Natural Resources, nothing currently.
Yeah, no report.
All right, and Councilor Branch.
Yes, do have one item that we've reported out around. Safe Environment Committee met. We discussed our digital signage and digital billboards. And in that conversation, we talked how this came before council before, but there was never really a full conversation as far as size, as far as locations, expansions. A number was given to council, but that number included all possibilities without really defining what actually could be done if one is set, is done from a digital standpoint going forward, how far apart. So out of that, the committee talked longer than I thought we were going to. I think we took almost 45 minutes on this item. And we were reporting out to authorize staff to draft a text change and refer to Planning Commission to allow the digital billboards as proposed by external industry representatives with modifications to address the following. Increase bulk, meaning size and height. Right now, I think we limit 300 feet. The state has a 400-foot limit, so they'll have that conversation. Location and expansion, separation between signs, the brightness of signs, also requiring the removal of existing signs, meaning there will also be a cap on the number of signs, digital and non-digital, were part of the conversation that we had. From board members, is there anything else we missed? I got back to Raleigh at 10 o'clock last night,
Yeah.
so I want to make sure.
Well, I would
cover
just
this.
say that the tone of the discussion was, we felt this was worth having a conversation. We're not saying we're all for this.
Correct.
We just think we need to revisit, because we've allowed the digital signage on the street level. What does that mean? And we also are sensitive to the fact that these signs have been stacked in Councilor Branch's district primarily, and a redistribution with a cap on the same number, again, is a conversation worth having. So I just.
And that is true. This is just to have a conversation. This is not saying we're going to change the policy, but we've not had that conversation to date. So this is an opportunity. And also, we were able to give Planning Commission some direction. They were actually in audience at the time of the meeting, so they heard some of it, but it also gives them a chance to, we've kind of given them direction on what to look at as far as a reference back to us, because they did not have that prior to the last text change. So that was the motion as printed that I read.
Great. Second.
Okay.
Councilor Harrison.
Yeah. I just want to put out a few concerns, and I think, maybe guardrails that I'm thinking about with this conversation. With the billboard proposal as is, when I look at the staff presentation, it's pretty wide open. So there is a slide that talks about current, restrictions or limits on the billboards, and then proposed. I find the proposed ideas vast, potentially, in terms of where it could be permitted, and I have concerns just about maybe losing our own control in this particular situation. We had some conversations, I know, in closed session about making changes to this ordinance, and I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about those now, or if it would be something that we need to talk about as a body, because when we make changes like this, there could be other implications. I know there was some information shared from that past conversation. So I have a little bit of a,
Yeah, and also in this, the last time this came before us, and we brought this up in committee, there was also a state bill that was out, and that was one of the reasons why, as a council, we said we were going to wait and let the state bill go forward and see what happens with that state bill. And I think that has already ran its course. So I think gives us a better idea to have those very conversations. Because in our committee meeting, we even said and mentioned to staff that based on the information provided, this is a vast area. But once you realize why that information was given to us, then we had a better understanding. Yes, it says it looks like it'd be all over the city, but the way it's limited and the way they're spread apart, it does limit that footprint. But staff stated they could not limit that footprint because they don't know where the first one will be placed first. And once they have that information, then they can determine how many could be and where.
in terms of who would decide that, I mean, that's a private business decision within the
Well, our zoning
permitted
does.
areas, right?
Our zoning determines where that be placed. But those are conversations that our planning commission will have. It'll come back to us from planning for us to have more conversation to then determine if we want to move forward or not.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to note, we went through this process last term, so we did have the text change
Planning
go
came,
forward,
and we
and
hadn't.
planning had a recommendation opposed to
Correct.
the change.
Planning's recommendation came to us, it was denial, and it also stated they didn't know what to approve. So that's why they denied it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I read
Any
that
other
statement.
comment? Yep.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about this. We did last time. We did already do this process when we opened it. I mean, the first time we opened it up, it was like, okay, well, we're going to do a public process. We'll hear from the public, which we did. There was a lot of community concern. I don't think that if we reopen the conversation, we'll have a different reaction from the community. The streets that are particularly targeted to open up access, like as opposed to Capitol, which also carries a lot of the water for the billboards in the city and is in my district, where there's no homes fronting on Capitol, on Hillsborough Street, Wilmington Street, and Atlantic Avenue. There are homes that front or back up to on these corridors, and so I just think, yes, we could provide so much prescriptive guidance that says, well, don't let it back up to a home, or don't let it like, we could get that prescriptive about it and hope that it holds. But one thing we were also presented with was the way different municipalities' sign ordinances have held up or not held up in court over the past years, and ours has held up. And so I think there's questions, but what would happen if we move the goalpost? We could ask staff to get so prescriptive and hope that it holds, but I just wonder, like, if we are asking staff to spend their time on something, it should be something that's in line with our priorities, right? It should create more housing, create more affordable housing, serve climate goals, create public safety. I think last time we were also presented with research on road safety, and it was inconclusive at best, I think was the takeaway. According to the answers we received, it looks like there's traditionally 8 slots of advertising on each digital billboard. So unless you had an 8-to-1 retirement rate, you would be putting net more advertising into the world. Like, you would have fewer physical structures, but you would have 8 times more actual advertising. And when we think about what's on a billboard, it's DraftKings, FanDuel, OnlyFans, Lotto, Keno. It's a lot of things that I don't necessarily, and we can't control for that. We can't regulate the content of these signs. And so I just wonder, like, what's the public benefit to asking our staff to spend time on this? So I don't know that I'm even in support of reopening the door.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, we've already gotten an email about this from somebody from the public who weighed in the last time we proposed this. I definitely would want to see us have some pretty rigorous public engagement around this conversation. I remember some of the commentary from folks about distractions on highways and just not necessarily wanting to see our community quote unquote littered with digital signs. And I do think there's a distinct difference between, what we've done in the downtown area versus what would be done across the cities in different parts of the area. So I hear you, Councilmember Patton, but I definitely want to make sure that the public is well aware that this conversation is being revisited, and that there's a pretty rigorous opportunity for community engagement. And I see Ms. Hinton back there in the back with her group, but certainly want to make sure that we're getting commentary from the community, not just our staff presenting something to the Planning Commission.
Yep, Councilor Silver.
Yeah, I certainly want to hear from the community, but I also want to hear from the industry. We want to make sure we're balanced as we do our outreach. During the committee meeting, I asked a lot of questions about the state law, what is prohibited and what is allowed. And this is, whether people like it or not, billboards are permitted, in some cases grandfathered. And so I just want to make sure that we have a conversation with all parties involved, both on the business side and the community, so we can hear what they have to say. I think Councilmember Branch summarized it quite well, what the committee discussed, had concerns about proximity to residential areas in terms of location, separation, brightness, all that I think are very important to have a conversation. I was not here, part of the previous conversation, cannot jump to a conclusion unless I deliberate and hear both sides. To me, that's how I want to make a decision. I want to hear from the industry, business community, but I also want to hear from the residents. And after hearing both sides, I feel as if I'll be able to be in a position to make a better decision about what is the appropriate path to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I'm not going to support the text change proposal as is. It just feels too vague at this time. And I feel like we did address these topics in the last term. And at the end of the day, I don't anticipate the residents that I represent having an interest in this.
Can I ask one question? Is there something, and this is for all council members, is there something else you would want to see added or addressed in order to have the conversation. And all I'm saying is just to have a conversation. What else would you want to give direction to for?
I personally feel like if we're going to initiate the text change, I would rather it be a little wider because I think that gives our staff and the Planning Commission and the public some flexibility to be more prescriptive with their feedback. And so to Councilmember Silver's point, I mean, I was on council when this came up last time. I honestly don't remember that much about it. I did read the memo that we had from closed session. I would rather, I don't feel like I can give direction on that right now. I would rather it go out into the process sort of open-ended and then allow the community and the experts to sort of tailor it for us. That's my position. And I understand some folks may not support it. I'll vote yes to initiate the text change.
Well, and what I'll say, Councilmember Silver, the industry is the one that requested this text change. And so they're the ones that are driving force, requesting us to make these changes, which is why I'm saying make sure the public has an adequate opportunity to weigh in because the industry is the one wanting the changes.
Yep, Councilor Jones.
I just wanted to add, after sitting there and having gone through it last time, I did ask the industry to meet with CACs to start how do we build that connection point with the community outside of our staff. And they have met with them, and they are now scheduled to meet with individuals. They met with the entire group, the RCAC leadership, and they're going to now meet with individuals. So if you are a part, and if you're not, you should definitely be part of your CACs. This should be coming your way soon. Prior to this ever being decided on. So that is just one piece that I want to be able to heal from more that are outside of just emails, because I think the majority of people that we heard from last time was through emails. And I want to make sure we have a wider base of not only opinions, but also understanding and hearing directly from the community, the business community, the industry who is putting this in front of them. You know, it's kind of their job to sell it. So that's what I'm trying to make sure they have that platform to speak to the community as well, and they have agreed to that.
And Councilor Branch, to your question, I guess I would understand, and the current signage, are there residences that are exposed to the current situation? I know there are, because down on South Saunders, there's some houses. So, and then if we were going to think about redistributing away from the key corridors, and maybe it's Councilor Patton and yours. I definitely think these trying to get it away from residential and the rest of it. But I just think the more specific we can get around current sign and what's going on with those might be helpful to inform the future conditions.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I can just add one more thing. I want to make sure, too, that we have a closed session on this topic, regardless of how we move forward, so that we understand from the attorney's perspective on this. And I do believe the South Saunders area is in District D. Maybe it's right on the edge. It depends on the edge of the street.
Yeah, there's part of it, but when you look at Tower Shopping Center, Tower Shopping Center alone has more than South Saunders.
Yeah. But I'm just saying there are some mix, and I think it's B, C, and D primarily.
Well, the final, just for the city attorney, I know this was part of, there was a number of bills run in the General Assembly, right, that were trying to take away zoning authority. There was some language that was removed from that bill related to signage. So just might be helpful for us to understand what were some of the bills introduced in the General Assembly, where did those go? We did wait to hear this until after session, but given that they have not concluded really their business either, that just might be helpful context, particularly in a closed session, as Councilor Harrison was mentioning. Yep.
Yeah, and I would say just inclusive also of peer cities in North Carolina who have made these changes and the, follow along activities that have happened with them. What's the uptake been? Have they had to expand them based on state action or litigation, et cetera?
I was just going to add that maybe one possible solution would be perhaps we could hold this till the next meeting and ask for a closed session on it to refresh everyone's memory, or do we want to advance it now? Well, it would have to be, I think, it would have to be the first meeting in October because you would have to prepare for a closed session on the 16th. Right.
How does that inform the planning commission, right? How would they get information that's relevant from a closed session?
It would inform us who ultimately make the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may help us provide a little bit more direction. I could use a refresher on this. I have the closed session memo from March of 2024. I read it before the meeting because Councilmember Patton circulated it, but a touch point on what these bills were and what the outcome was, what we would hope to accomplish from this and any legal issues associated with it. I think last time it was heavily focused on regulation of content. That may help us provide a little bit more direction before we initiate a text change.
So what we'll do is, this has been referred out. It's now in the hands of the council. So it'll be a special item, I guess, on the future agenda until the closed session.
Another lengthy conversation, just deciding, okay.
We have 2 pending items. One of them, I need to talk to the city attorney about on how, because we said we weren't going to talk about the noise ordinance part because of the other conversation, the other work that we have from the from that closed session. So I get with the city attorney on that, and then the other conversation was about commercial trash. Due to time, we cannot go in great detail. We let those who are present speak, and we're going to pick that up at our next meeting, which will be September the 23rd here in the chamber.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Transportation and Transit has one item pending, pavement markings, and we will meet on Thursday, September 25th from 3 to 5 in council chambers to discuss that item.
Okay. All right, next we have report of the mayor and city council. I'll start with Councilor Harrison.
Just want to say we will have a District D Neighborhood Alliance meeting on Saturday, September 20th. That's at 9:30 a.m. at the Crowder Center at Lake Johnson Park. And also, happy Labor Day. Hope everyone had a nice long weekend.
One thing I have is just we're looking to have a District C meeting on September 29th. I'm waiting for a location to be confirmed. Once I have that, information will go out. Other than that, I hope everyone had a good past holiday weekend. For those that work out in labor and serve, thank you for what you do, and have a great day.
Thank you. Our next District E community meeting will be held on September 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. at La Cucina Italian Restaurant. And the Decoding Democracy Book Club will meet on September 13th back at the Oberlin Regional Library from 9:30 to 11:30. We'll be moving on to Articles 6 and 7 of the Raleigh City Charter, and that'll be under Book 3, Meeting 3 in the Google Drive. And then lastly, I don't think they will, so I'm going to highlight it right now. We have 2 birthdays coming up on council. We've got Councilor Patton and Councilor Harrison coming up next week. So super excited for Virgo season, and happy birthday.
No report from me.
My own report is that I had my first district meeting last Thursday. Very well attended and great conversation, and I'll be announcing the next one for either late September or October. That's it for my report.
All right. Highlighting, as always, good things we did through the consent agenda. We began the process of making the Holiday Inn a historic landmark. We accepted several grants from the Governor's Highway Safety Program for motorcycle safety, enforcement of seatbelt violations, and spotting and stopping impaired driving. Also added some no parking areas in my district to improve lines of sight for driver and pedestrian safety, and lowered some speed limits on Taylor Oaks Drive and Tyler Bluff Lane. My office hours will be Wednesday, September 10th from 6 to 8 at Local 919. And then I wanted to just offer sympathies to families who sent their kids off for the first week of school and also experienced school-based gun violence last week. Policy is, in my view, love out loud, and the policies we make can express that or not. And so I just want to express my sympathies to those families and remind us that this doesn't have to keep happening.
No report.
City attorney was distracting me. So we had a number of great festivals and celebrations over the last couple of weeks. So I want to congratulate, I don't see her in here, but Octavia Rainey on the 4th Ward celebration. It was over a couple of days, over a weekend. It was great. So I went to the Saturday celebration and also the gospel celebration on that Sunday. And I have to give some acknowledgement to those folks at NC State. They had a successful Pack-a-Palooza event, which was very well attended. And then over the last 2 days, or Saturday and Sunday this weekend, the folks at the African American Cultural Festival had a successful event as well. So organizers of these events are highlighting, small businesses in the area and a lot of other things that contribute to our economic development. So congratulations to the organizers of all those events.
Next, appointments.
Good afternoon. First is Arts Commission, 2 regular vacancies. Andrew Baker received 8 votes, so would be appointed. And then for that remaining vacancy, council members Harrison and Jones nominated Chance Bustamante. So that will return on the next ballot.
Can I just check? I believe his address might be in Knightdale, so that could be an issue.
I will check. Haven't done nominations as of today, but I can look at that, and if that's the case, we can make
Yeah, I
note of that in
reached
the
out to
system.
him because I wasn't sure, and he confirmed that.
We'll look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Design Review Commission, 1 alternate vacancy. Kate Charlin received 8 votes, so would be appointed. Environmental Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. Veronica Bidding received 8 votes, so is appointed. Raleigh Sister Cities, 1 regular vacancy. Councilmember Jones nominated Sebastian Duca, so that will be coming back on your next ballot. Jumping down to nominations, Fair Housing Hearing Board, 1 regular vacancy. Term of Octavia Rainey is expiring. She does not wish to be considered for reappointment. Again, per city code, she will continue to serve until replaced, so that'll be coming back on your next ballot.
I'd like to nominate Damian Gu.
All right, that'll be coming back on your next ballot. Sorry, I keep waiting for someone to. Parks, Recreation, and Greenway Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. Term of Ian Burnett is expiring. He would like to be considered for reappointment.
I move that we reappoint Ian Barnett.
Second. All in favor of that motion, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right.
And lastly, just again, listed on this agenda are various vacancies for boards awaiting council direction as discussions are ongoing regarding potential reorganizations. And that's it.
Can I just want to ask for the group, was it the will of the council to hold all of these vacancies? Is there any interest in, while we do the work with the special committee, to still allow the transition into new members, or is this something that we want to wait until it's complete before we restart?
I'll jump in and say, because I was on the committee, I think the goal would be to hold, because if we do reorganization and restructuring, you don't want to bring people on, get them onboarded, and then next thing you know, you're kind of removing folks. And so I think if we pause it until we kind of figure out what the structure will be going forward, that would be a better plan, so you don't have people coming and going kind of ping-ponging through the process.
Okay.
I wanted to nominate Diane Youssef to the Fair Housing Board.
Diane, I'm sorry, tell me the name one more time.
Diane Youssef.
And can I, because I'm the advisor for the board, so I'm going to say something pretty directly to folks. One of the challenges with that board is that we really need to look at diversity from a range of perspectives, racial diversity, gender diversity, and some other things. So that's something I just want council members to take into consideration, because the makeup of the board seems to be pretty homogenous, I guess is the word that I would use.
Thank you for that.
Okay, any other conversation? Okay. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the city attorney.
No report.
Okay. and the city clerk.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. With your agenda materials, we received minutes from the August 19th City Council meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, so next we have a motion to enter into closed session. It is pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A3 to consult with the city attorney in order to preserve attorney-client privilege and to consider and give instructions regarding the handling and/or settlement of the potential claims in the following matters: City of Raleigh versus Jones Estates LLC, City of Raleigh versus Jones Estates Raleigh LLC, General Statute 143, 318, 11A9 to discuss and take action regarding plans to protect public safety as it relates to existing or potential terrorist activity and to receive briefings by staff members, legal counsel, or law enforcement concerning actions taken or to be taken to respond to such activity, and General Statute 143, 318, 11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of employment for an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee. So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. We are now in closed session. closed session. The council met in closed session to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, and conditions of employment of an individual employee. We have nothing to report out at this time.